My name is Emily. I'm 30 and currently pregnant. When I was 23, I was diagnosed with a condition that might prevent me from ever having children. For my younger self, that diagnosis was a heavy burden to bear. I feared that any potential romantic partners would reject me if they knew I might not be able to have children. So, I stayed away from relationships. But then last year, I reconnected with Logan at our high school reunion. Logan confessed that he'd had feelings for me since high school and asked to exchange contact information at the reunion. Logan expressed his affection for me with such persistence and strength that I found myself growing attracted to him too. I had been honest with Logan about my potential inability to have children. But Logan said he still wanted to marry me, and so we tied the knot last year. Then, like a miracle, I found out that I was pregnant with Logan's child. I was so thrilled that I showed Logan the ultrasound picture I received from the obstetrician that very day. Logan cried with joy at the news of my pregnancy, and seeing his tears made me cry too. I resolved to cherish and protect the life growing inside me. I decided to bring this child in the world and raise it with all my love. A few days later, I found myself heading back to my parents' house alone. Logan couldn't come because of work, but I wanted to tell my mom about the pregnancy as soon as possible. My mother had comforted me when I was diagnosed with potential infertility, assuring me that a life without children could also be wonderful. She was also the first to celebrate when Logan and I decided to get married. My father passed away when I was very young, and my mom single-handedly raised my brother and me. My father had a good salary and left a sizable inheritance, but my mom continued to work until her retirement. My mom now lives alone in a house, leading an elegant life. She goes to the hobby club every day, tends to her garden, and even makes trendy do-it-yourself shelves, truly savoring her life. I was sure Mom would be overjoyed at the news of my pregnancy. As I arrived at my parents' house with high hopes, Mom greeted me with a smile. "Welcome home, Emily! Ryan and his family are here today." I knew from the voices of my nieces that my brother's family was visiting. Though I'm not particularly fond of my sister-in-law, my eagerness to share my pregnancy news with Mom had me entering the house nonetheless. From my perspective, my brother's wife, Chloe, can be a bit nasty. Chloe, who married my brother Ryan 7 years ago, made a remark I still can't forget when I was feeling down about being diagnosed with potential infertility. "If you can't have children, maybe you should give up on getting married," she said seriously. When I announced my marriage to Logan, she made things even more uncomfortable by saying things like, "How much did you get from your mother-in-law as a wedding gift? What's the point of getting married if you can't even have children?" It was a bitter experience, but creating a rift with Chloe, who is my brother's wife, would do no good. I had always brushed off Chloe's comments with a wry smile and never told Mom about them. As I entered the house with Mom, my nieces were happily playing pretend, while Ryan and Chloe were sitting at the table drinking coffee. After greeting my brother and his wife, I took a seat at the table and Mom poured me a cup of coffee as well. I was hesitant about sharing my pregnancy news with Chloe, but I thought she might not say anything unpleasant if I announced it in front of Mom, so I gathered my courage and began to speak. "I actually came here today because I have some news to share. I am pregnant." As I gently rubbed my stomach and announced the news, Mom exclaimed, "Really?" Chloe muttered a quiet, "You got to be kidding," and my brother shouted, "Congratulations!" "I know you were worried about potentially being unable to get pregnant, Emily. I am so glad for you. Logan really is your destiny. Congratulations." Mom just have been incredibly happy as she began to shed tears of joy. Remembering how Mom had supported me when I was feeling down, I too started tearing up. But I noticed Chloe whispering something to Ryan, and that got my attention. Repeatedly thanking Mom as I gently rubbed her back. Mom finally seemed to calm down and told me with a warm smile, "You must take care of yourself." Just then, the doorbell rang, as if on cue. "Oh, I wonder if that's a package delivery. I'll be right back." As soon as Mom was out of the room, heading towards the entrance, Chloe leaned in and started speaking to me. "Is it true that you're pregnant? You said you might be not able to get pregnant. Was that a lie to gain sympathy from our mother-in-law?" Huh? Caught off guard by her unexpected accusation, I could only stare at her in surprise, while my brother feigned ignorance. Seeing no help coming, I firmly responded, "No, that's not true. It's true that the doctors told me I might not be able to get pregnant. Even the doctors were surprised that I could, and my husband was overjoyed," I explained. "You should consider terminating the pregnancy." "What?" "It's better to do it sooner. I heard it's less stressful on the body." The horrifying words coming from Chloe made me shudder. Instinctively, I hugged myself as if to protect my unborn child. How could anyone say such a thing to someone who's excited about their pregnancy? I couldn't believe we were the same species. Even my brother seemed shocked by her statement. "Hey, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?" he defended me. But Chloe glared at him and continued. "But if Emily has a baby, our mother-in-law will definitely spend her money on that child. It's obvious that she would love her own daughter's child more. I can't stand the thought of our children getting less money." "So, you are telling me to abort my child because of money?" "I didn't say abort. I suggested that it might be better. Who knows if a child carried by a mother who might not even be able to get pregnant can be born healthy. I'm just thinking about what's best for your baby too, Emily." I was certain her claim of considering my child's well-being was a complete lie. Chloe was pushing me to abort my child out of fear that she would receive less financial support from our mother-in-law. She was always dressed in designer clothes, and her two daughters were the same high-end fashion. Moreover, she and my brother lived in a large house and drove an expensive foreign car. I knew my brother worked at a sizable company and earned a good salary, but I couldn't imagine it would be enough for such luxuries. Though it was hard to believe, I deduced from our conversation that my brother and his wife were receiving a significant amount of money from our mother-in-law. "I have no intention of receiving financial support from Mom. Please stop suggesting that I should terminate." "The baby can hear you," Chloe snorted at my words. "There's no way the baby can hear," she retorted, with a mean expression on her face. To me, she looked like a devil. When my mom returned, my brother and his wife suddenly became restless. It quickly became clear that they were afraid I would tell my mother about their behavior. "Since it's almost lunchtime, should we order takeout?" "Ah, that sounds great. Let's have pizza. Pizza sounds nice." "I think I'll head home. I'm feeling a bit tired." I was frustrated with my brother and his wife for planning to splurge on lunch. But more than that, I was feeling suffocated sharing the same space with Chloe. As I stood up and explained my mom that I didn't want to impose, she looked concerned and asked, "Are you sure you're okay?" I just smiled and nodded before leaving. That night, when Logan came home, I told him about what had happened, my mood still low. Logan was furious with Chloe. "I'm going to call her and give her a piece of my mind right now," he fumed. But I stopped him. If we, who were relatives after all, started a fight with Chloe, it would cause unnecessary trouble for my mom. However, I couldn't stand seeing my mom being treated like a cash cow by Chloe. I decided to report today's events to her. A few days later, once I confirmed that my brother and his wife weren't visiting, I went to my mom's home and explained the situation. She smiled warmly. "I've known that Ryan and Chloe have been depending on my money," she said. Just the other day, Chloe said she needed an outfit for a ballet recital. I thought it was for my granddaughter, but I was shocked when I ended up buying clothes for Chloe. But don't worry, I have no intention of forgiving a daughter-in-law who says such things to my sweet daughter, and a son who doesn't stop her. Our always gentle mom was quietly furious. A few days later, my mom summoned both us and my brother's family to her home. Dressed in brand-name clothes as usual, Chloe arrived with my brother. After giving us, casually dressed as always, a thorough once-over, Chloe dramatically tilted her head. "Even if it's just your family home, is that outfit okay? If you need clothes, I can give you some of our hand-me-downs. We like our clothes. We're not into flashy clothes like you, Chloe." When Logan gave her a straight answer, Chloe huffled, "I see," and sat down grumpily. I knew Logan was angry when my mom called us, saying, "Emily doesn't need to talk to Chloe anymore. He probably wanted to protect me from Chloe." Just as I was feeling grateful for having married such a dependable husband, my mom entered the room with a man. He was the accountant who had helped my father when he was the president of his company. It was revealed that he was here to talk about my mom's plans for old age and inheritance. "I'm the eldest son, and in return for taking care of our mother in her old age, I'll receive all the inheritance. That's only fair. I'll take good care of our mother-in-law. If a demon like you were to take care of me, I'd die early. I'm preparing to move into a home for the elderly, so don't worry." With that, she handed out pamphlets for the nursing home to both us and my brother's family. We were surprised to learn that my mom was planning to move into a nursing home, but what shocked us even more were her words to Chloe. Chloe seemed stunned too. She froze for the moment, then murmured in a trembling voice, That's harsh. It hurts to hear you say that when I care so much for you, and I was hurt too, to hear Chloe tell my precious daughter to abort her baby. Why would you? But Chloe glared at me. I glared back. I reported everything to Mom. "You tattled on me?" Chloe's voice rose in anger, and Logan just shrugged his shoulders. "Well, maybe you shouldn't have said something that would cause trouble if it were reported," Logan countered. "It's only natural for Emily to tell our mother-in-law if you said something like that." Ignoring Chloe, who was gritting her teeth in frustration, my mom said, "Now, let's get back to the matter at hand. As for the distribution of my inheritance, I've decided that all my assets will go to Emily after my death." "What? Why, Mom? I'm your eldest son." "According to our tax consultant, all of the gifts you received from me during my lifetime should count." My older brother and Chloe, bewildered, could only stare blankly as the tax consultant took out several documents from a file. One by one, my mom laid them out on the table. "The cost of your wedding, your honeymoon, down payment on your house and car. I lent you the money for all of this with the understanding that you would pay me back, but I haven't received a cent in return." The documents laid out on the table were all loan agreements. Each one detailed how much was borrowed from Mom and what for. At the end of each document were the clear signatures of my older brother and Chloe. I've decided not to request repayment for these loans. Instead, I will count them as gifts made during my lifetime. This way, by leaving the remainder of my estate to Emily, I'm making sure everything is equal. "You're joking." Next to him, Chloe went after Mom. "But Mom, you're going to be spending money on Emily's child from now on, aren't you? Your own daughter's child has to be more precious to you. Isn't that also a gift made during your lifetime?" "She wants me to use my money solely to enjoy the rest of my life. Therefore, from now on, I will only be giving gifts to my grandchild on special occasions. Chloe seemed far from satisfied, but as the tax consultant calmly explained the property distribution, she seemed to have run out of objections. My older brother, realizing he would not be receiving an inheritance, looked deeply disappointed. The mood in the room was tense and somber. However, I felt a strong sense of relief knowing that Mom wouldn't be treated like a cash machine any longer. After this discussion, my older brother and Chloe stopped visiting our mother's house. So they really did only see me as a volatile, but after my child was born, I started visiting home more often. Whenever she was able to play with her grandchild, she seemed truly happy. Even without the money, just seeing Mom shower my child with love was more than enough for me. I later heard from Mom that Chloe used to mock us for both having jobs. Chloe, who had been a stay-at-home wife, apparently used to make comments like, "Emily and her husband are just poor, so they have to work." But now, she works much longer hours than me to pay for the house and car loans and for her kids' extracurricular activities. Living a lifestyle beyond her means, counting on Mom's wallet, she now has no choice but to work as she can't bring herself to lower her standard of living. Ever since she started working, she's been increasingly irritable. Mom says that my brother has been calling more frequently to vent about Chloe. Struggling to balance housework, child rearing, and work, their home is always in a mess, and there seems to be no end to their problems. I've heard that my brother is even considering divorce. Right now, my husband and I are pouring our love into our child that came us like a miracle. Of course, we don't receive any support from Mom, so we are working on hard to save for our child's future education. Despite the busy days, just seeing our child smile makes us feel, let's do our best again tomorrow. I can only hope that my brother and Chloe will adopt to a lifestyle within their means and be able to sustain their marriage.